Let's take a look at example 3. It says solve by using Cramer's rule. So we got 3x minus y plus z is equal to 5. You got x plus 2y minus 2z is equal to negative 3. You got 2x plus 3y plus z is equal to 4. Double check my numbers. Negative 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2. Okay. First off, we're going to have some determinants we're going to find. Our first one we just refer to as d. And this is going to be the coefficients off of our variable terms. So all the terms over here on the left side, we'll just drop the variables. So we got 3, negative 1, 1, 1, 2, negative 2, 2, 3, 1. And just double check my signs again. Okay, then we're going to have d sub x. Now, just in general, this is our x column, this is our y column, and this is our z column. D sub x, we're going to replace our x column with the numbers on the right side. So this will be 5, negative 3, and 4. And the other two columns remain as is. Now we'll also have a d sub y. And what we're going to do with the d sub y is we're going to replace the y column with the numbers on the right side. So this will be 5, negative 3, 4. And then the other columns again remain as is. And then we'll have d sub z. And we're going to replace our z column with the numbers on the right side. And the other columns remain as is. So I got 3, negative 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. And this becomes 5, negative 3, and 4. Now that's how they get these items right here. Now this is going to equal to something. This will equal to something, and this will equal to something, and this will equal to something. Let's take this piece by piece. So let's find this determinant. I don't got room for all of this, so I'm gonna do this, and then I'll erase this part. So I got 3, negative 1, 1, 1, 2, negative 2, 2, 3, 1. I got 3, negative 1, 1, 1, 2, negative 2, 2, 3, 1. I got 3, negative 1, 1, 1, 2, negative 2, 2, 3, 1. Now you pick some row and some column to work with. Unless you got a row that has a lot of zeros, and there's no zeros really in any of these rows or columns, then your easiest one is probably just the first row anyway. Now the way the signs always work out is it starts out with this being positive, this is negative, and this is positive. This has nothing to do with the signs that are already there, even though they match in this one. So that means sign-wise, we're going to have a plus, we'll have a minus, and we'll have a plus. Then we're going to write down the numbers that are there. So here I have a 3, here I have a negative 1, and here I have a positive 1. And we'll be multiplying these times 2 by 2 determinants. Now this is going to be our number that we're going to work with. That's our 3 here. And what we do is we cross out the row and column it's in. Now once I do that, what isn't crossed out is what goes right here. So we got 2, -2, 3, and 1. Now for this one, we're working with -1. So I'll cross out the row and column it's in. What isn't crossed out is what goes here. So we've got 1, -2, 2, and 1. And this number we're working with is 1, which is our last number here. And we'll cross out the row and column it's in. And what isn't crossed out is what goes right here, which is 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. So then we got 3 here, and we'll cross multiply, take 2 times 1, minus, and then you cross multiply here, 3 times -2. It's always a minus in between them. Now here a negative becomes a positive 1. We'll cross multiply, we got 1 times 1, minus 2 times -2. Plus 1, 1 times 3, minus 2 times 2. So we've got 3, we've got 2, -3 times -2 is a positive 6, plus 1 times, 1 times 1 is 1, -2 times -2 is 4, plus 1, 1 times 3 is 3, -2 times 2 is -4. Now it is so easy to mess up on a sign on these. 2 plus 6 is 8. 1 times 4, or 2 plus 6 is 8, 1 plus 4 is 5. And 3 times 3 minus -4 is -1. So I got 24 plus 5 minus 1, which gives us 28. Let me double check that with the book. See how they came up with 28 here. Okay. Now I'm going to erase that, and then I'll put 28 right here. Okay, so that one is 28. Now let's find this next determinant. We're going to have 5, -1, 1, -3, 2, -2, 4, 3, and 1. And you always, and sometimes you get to the point where you do this in your head, but if you're writing out what the rows and columns you're going to cross out, and you want to come up with 3 of these matrices. So we got 5, -1, 1, -3, 2, -2, 4, 3, 1. Okay, on all of these, we'll just work with the first row. And remember what I said earlier. For the first row, we're going to add additional signs in here. This will be a plus, minus, plus. It always starts with plus. If I had picked this last row to work with, this would have been plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. If I had picked this column, the third column to work with, we would have had plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. So it alternates, with your first entry always being plus. Okay, so those are the additional signs we're putting in. So we're putting a plus in there, we're putting a minus in there, and we're putting a plus in there. Now the numbers from the first row. We got a 5 here, we got a -1 here, and we got a positive 1 here. And we're going to have 2 by 2 determinants. Okay, so for the first row, this is our number. So we're going to cross out the row and column it's in. Now what isn't crossed out is what goes right here, which would be 2, -2, 3, and 1. This number is -1, so we're working with this. So we'll cross out the row and column it's in. And that's going to leave us -3, -2, 4, and 1. And then our last one, we'll be working with this number. So we cross out the row and column it's in. And that's going to leave us -3, 2, 4, and 3. Okay, so then we got 5, and we'll cross multiply. 2 times 1, always a minus in between them, and then 3 times negative 2. Negative negative gives us a positive 1. Cross multiply. Negative 3 times 1 minus 4 times negative 2 plus 1. Cross multiply. Negative 3 times 3 minus 4 times 2. So that gives us 2. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Two plus 6 is 8. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5. Negative 9, negative 8 is negative 17. So that gives us 40 plus 5 minus 17. 45 minus 17, which would be 28. And I'll just double check it with what they have here. D sub x, they say, is 28. Now I'm going to erase all that, and then I'll write this is equal to 28 here. Now if you do some reading, you'll find that there's a shortcut for a 3 by 3, but the method I'm showing you will work no matter how big the matrix is. So that's why I deliberately ignore the shortcut when I'm showing this. Because if you have 4 equations, 4 variables, you can use the same process. It's kind of tedious, but you can use that same process. Okay, now let's find d sub y. You may be thinking, well, this problem seems kind of tedious, and it really is kind of lengthy. 1, negative 3, negative 2, 2, 4, 1. And we're going to have 3, 5, 1, 1, negative 3, negative 2, 2, 4, 1. And we'll have 3, 5, 1, 1, negative 3, negative 2, 2, 4, 1. Again, we're working with the first row, so this is plus, minus, plus. Again, these are additional signs we're putting in. They have nothing to do with the signs that's already there. So we'll have a plus there, we'll have a minus here, and we'll have a plus here. Now write down numbers from the row. So we're going to have 3, we'll have 5, and then we'll have 1. And we're multiplying these by 2 determinants. Okay, so this is our first number, 3. Working with this one. So we're crossing out the row and column it's in. So we'll cross those out. And we're left with negative 3, negative 2, 4, 1. This one working with 5, so we'll cross out the row and column it's in. And that's going to leave us 1, negative 2, 2, and 1. And on this one, we're working with the 1, so we'll cross out the row and column it's in. And we're going to have 1, negative 3, 2, 4. Now after you get used to this, you don't have to sit there and cross it out like you see in here. You visualize it. You know, you work with 3, you cross out that column, that row, and then you can write this down direct. Okay. So then, we'll cross multiply negative 3 times 1. Minus 4 times negative 2, minus 5, cross multiply, 1 times 1, minus 2 times negative 2, plus 1, cross multiply, 1 times 4, minus 2 times negative 3. Okay, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, negative 4 times negative 2 is 8, 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5. 1 plus 4 is 5. And 4 plus 6 is 10. Little mixture of brackets and parentheses there. 3 times 5 is 15, minus 25, plus 10. 15 plus 10 is 25, minus 25 gives us 0. Now I'm going to double check myself. 0. Okay. So I can do. I'm going to clean all that off. Normally I would leave it all there because it's so easy to mess up on one single number on this that when you get your final answer you want to go back and double check it. Okay, then we want to find d sub z. So we're going to have 3, negative 1, 5, 1, 2, negative 3, 2, 3, 4. 3, negative 1, 5, 1, 2, negative 3, 2, 3, 4. And again, 3, negative 1, 5, 1, 2, negative 3, 2, 3, 4. Might as well work with the first row, as good as any. So starts with plus, then alternates. So plus, minus, plus. And again, these are additional signs we're putting into the problem. So we're going to have a plus, minus, plus. Now we're going to write down numbers. So there's 3, here's negative 1, and here's 5. And we'll multiply those times 2 by 2 determinants. Now our first number here, the 3. We'll circle it, cross out the row and column it's in. And that leaves us 2, negative 3, 3, 4. For our second one, we're working with the negative 1. So we'll cross out the row and column it's in. And that leaves us 1, negative 3, 2, and 4. Our last one, the 5. We'll cross out the row and column it's in. And that leaves us 1, 2, 2, and 3. Okay, cross multiply 2 times 4 minus 3 times negative 3. Always a minus in the middle. Negative negative is positive. Cross multiply 1 times 4 minus 2 times negative 3 plus 5. Cross multiply 1 times 3 minus 2 times 2. Two times 4 is 8. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 1 times 4 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3 minus 2 times 2, which is 4. So we got 3 times 17 plus 1 times 10 plus 5 times negative 1, which gives us 51 plus 10 minus 5, which gives us 61 minus 5. That seems kind of like a bizarre number. I wonder if I screwed up my math. Let's see. 2, negative 3, 3, 4, 8, 17, 51. Okay. Cross those out, and I get 1, negative 3, 2, 4. Cross multiply 10 plus 5. 3 minus 4, negative 5. Well, looks right. 161, 56. Let's see. Oh, it is 56. I didn't even notice that the first time. Okay. So now, this is 56. And this is where you use your formulas to figure out what x, y, and z are. X is going to equal to d sub x over d. D sub x we said was 28 over d, which is 28, which gives us 1. Now y is d sub y over d. D sub y is 0 over d, which is 28, so we got 0. And z is equal to d sub z over d. D sub z is 56 over d, which is 28, and that gives us 2. So our answer will be 1, 0, 2. Now how we would check this, I won't go through the process, But we'd plug that in up here and see if it works in each one of these. Very important, when you're using Cramer's rule, if you're doing it by hand like I'm showing, then it's very easy to mess up on a sign. Having a collapse around my room here. Okay, now let me show you how to do these on a TA3, TA4 to do the determinant part. And I'll just do one of them. Actually, maybe I'll do all four, just so you see the process. As soon as this comes up, there we go. Now I'm gonna work with D first. Now, how you get into your matrix is you see there's a button that looks like X to -1. So if you push the second button and then the X to -1, that's actually your inverse button, not your X to -1. But it accesses the matrix above the button. Now, if you have a T83, not a T83 plus, but a T83, you actually have a button that says matrix. Now we want to go over to edit, so I'm going to right arrow over to edit and press enter on that. Now it comes up and asks us for the size of our matrix. And the size of our matrix is rows by columns. And this is 3 rows and 3 columns. So do 3 enter, 3 enter. And then you type in each one of your numbers, pressing enter after each one. So do 3 enter, -1, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter, -2, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter, 1, enter. Now I'm going to double check my data entry here. Okay, so I'm going to exit out. You do second mode to exit out. Second mode exits, you have anything in your calculator. Now I want to go back into my matrix menu. So I do second, X to -1. I'm going to right arrow over to math, and you see my first one says DET. So I do enter on that. Go back in my matrix menu. I'm now under names, not over in edit, but I'm under names, and I do an enter on A and enter again. And that gives us 28. Fantastic way, if you're doing it, even if you're doing it by hand, to check yourself. Let's do this one. So I'll press my stat button. Stat. Let's try it again. Wrong class. And I exited out second mode to get out of that. So I'll do second, X to -1. Right arrow over to edit, or you can left arrow once. Press enter on A. Size of the matrix is still 3 by 3, so you can just press enter on those or put 3 in again and 3. And you press enter to save the entry. Okay, so we're going to have 5, enter, -1. I'll go ahead and go through the process even though those numbers are there. And then 1, enter, -3, 2, -2, 4, 3, and 1. Double check my data entry. Looks good. Exit out. You do second mode. Then we'll go back in our matrix menu. Right arrow to math. We do enter on DET. Go back in the matrix menu. Do enter on A. Enter again. And that gives us our other 28. Now we're going to do this one. So I'm going to do my second, and then my inverse button, the X to -1. Go over to edit, enter on A. It's still a 3 by 3. Okay, so now I'm going to do 3, enter, 5, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter. -3, that's the one bottom row here, enter. -2. For my keyboard, I can type everything except for negatives on this emulator. That's why I'm moving that up. And then 2, enter, 4, enter, 1, enter. So I got 3, 5, 1, 1, -2, -3, -2, 2, 4, 1. Okay, so I'm going to exit out. I'll do second mode. Now I'm going to go do my determinant. So I'll do second, X to -1, right arrow to math, enter on DET. Second, x to negative 1, enter on A, enter again. And we get 0, which is our 1 right there. Now let's do this one over here. So I'll do second, x to negative 1, go over to edit, enter on A, say 3 by 3. And I'm going to have 3, negative 1, 5, 1, 2, negative 3, then 2, 3, 4. Okay, that looks right. So now if I exit out, second mode, go back in my matrix menu, go over to math, DET, go back in matrix menu, do enter on A, enter again. We see we get our 56. So that's how you can use the calculator to get these determinants. And at that point, you still have to do this formula for Cramer's rule to set that up.